inside of this training, I want to talk about the fastest way to build trust, especially when it comes to food. Because what I hear often is, I can't trust myself. I better not even have the chocolate, because if I have the chocolate, I'm probably going to spiral out of control. I better not buy the dried mangoes, because if it's in the house, I'm just going to eat it. I better not bake the chocolate chip muffins, because if I bake, obviously I'm going to eat it, and obviously I'm going to go overboard. So I want to talk about how to actually trust yourself around food. This is you being integral with your word, doing the things that you say you're going to do. That is the fastest way to build up self-trust. When you tell yourself, the things that I tell myself I'm going to do, you actually do it. Now, here's where people get this twisted and people get this wrong. You tell yourself, I better not binge tonight. I better only have one cookie. I better get up at 6 a.m. every single day, especially on the weekends. Like, I better just not buy the chocolate. Those are so unrealistic and is designed to set you up to, I hate using the word fail, but designed to set you up to fail, because nobody can stick to those things. Let's break it down. Telling yourself, I promise myself I'm not going to binge. I understand where you're coming from, because I used to do this. I used to promise myself, especially after each binge, when I would feel so full, so bloated, I'm like, I'm never doing that ever again. I promise that was the last time that I was ever going to binge. But you can't just snap your fingers and promise yourself you're not going to ever binge and then never binge again. You cannot think your way out of a binge, no matter how motivated you are, no matter how disciplined you are, no matter how much binge eating is impacting your intimate life, your relationships, your mental health, your mood, no matter what. You can't just think your way out of a binge. You've tried. You've told yourself, I promise I'm not going to binge tonight. And sure, maybe some days you did get lucky and maybe you didn't binge, but it's not a long-term sustainable solution. The second thing, telling yourself, I better just have one cookie. That will always backfire. Because when you tell yourself to do something, you quite literally want to do the opposite. So when you tell yourself, just have one cookie, not only is that very unrealistic, you're not even going to be satisfied with one cookie, but you tell yourself to just have one, you end up having 5. Because you don't like being told what to do. So you tell yourself only one cookie. You're not satisfied. You want the second cookie, but now you feel like I messed up, I failed, so I might as well go to town and finish the rest of the cookies, and then tomorrow I'll do better. Now, the third thing, this doesn't have to do with your relationship with food, but I'm sure a lot of you guys can resonate. It's like, if you tell yourself, I better get up at 6 a.m. every single morning, even on weekends, even when I'm exhausted, you're not listening to your intuition. You're not listening to your body. So building up self-trust, yes, you have to be a woman of your word. You have to be integral with your word. You have to do the things that you say you're going to do, but that does not mean I better not binge tonight. I better only have one cookie. I better not buy the chocolate at the grocery store. I'm going to give you some examples of other things to focus on where you can actually be integral with your word. So the first one, okay, I'm just going to give you an example. The first one. The next time I feel an urge to binge, I am going to use a tool like breath work, movement, a cold shower to help me to not give in. Those are a few of the tools that I teach my clients inside of my programs to help them not give in to their urges. So if you are a woman of your word and you do the things you say you're going to do, and you tell yourself, the next time I have an urge, I'm going to use a tool before giving in, that is effective. That's way more effective than telling yourself, just don't binge tonight. You're telling yourself to use a tool. You can do that. You're capable of that. You know you could do that. Can you easily predict you're not going to binge tonight? No. Can you tell yourself you're going to use a tool? Yes. Like, that is predictable. Like, you can go and you can use breath work. You can use shaking. You could hop in a cold shower. That is something that you're able to do. It's realistic versus you better not binge tonight. Another example. If you are somebody who looks up the menu before going out to the restaurant. I have a client right now that I'm working with, and she's like, every time I go to the restaurant, I feel like I can't trust myself to just order what I want, so I always look up the menu ahead of time. And I said, well, the only way you're going to build up self-trust is if you stop doing that. If you go to the restaurant and you don't look up the menu ahead of time, you're being forced to decide what to eat. You're being forced to be decisive, quick, fast. Okay, this is what I want. And that is how you actually build up trust, because you realized, I didn't die. I was able to choose something. And even if you chose something and it made you bloated or you overate, you are building up that trust to be like, I didn't look up the menu ahead of time. I showed up to the restaurant. I didn't go on my phone. I didn't go on my computer to look up the menu to be like, I need to take a week to decide what to order. I forced myself to go to the restaurant and show up without knowing what the menu is. That's how you build up self-trust. That is different than, you better not binge tonight. You better order the salad. You can't predict that. That is force. That is push. That is not realistic. Another example, you telling yourself, the next time I'm at work, I'm going to have a cookie in front of my coworker. Because maybe right now, you don't like eating sweets in front of your coworkers because they see you as you're the healthy one and you're all fit and you eat so healthy, so you don't want them to make any comments about the fact that you're having a cookie. So every single time you have the cookie, it's always at home when you're by yourself. So instead, being a woman of your word is like, the next time I'm at my office with the coworkers, I am going to have the cookie. As scared as I am, I'm going to do that. That is going to build up trust so much faster. That is different than forcing yourself. I'm going to have a salad for dinner tonight. I am not going to have any chocolate this week. That is so unrealistic. Stop setting unrealistic expectations because you can't stick to that. Nobody can. And then that's where you feel like trust is broken. Man, I told myself I wasn't going to binge tonight and I ended up giving in. I'm such a failure. No, you're not a failure. You just set an unrealistic expectation. Hi, Anna. Anna says, thank you so much. You're helping so many people. I am so glad. Thank you, Anna. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. So you have to be realistic. What should I do if I struggle with binge eating, but my job requires me to be extremely skinny? Change jobs. Like, I know that's obviously not realistic, but at the same time, I would never be in a job that forced me to look a certain way. I used to be a personal trainer and health coach, and that just wasn't a vibe anymore. I was like, I need to heal my relationship with food. I need to see myself as so much more than the way that I looked. And so this is where I transition, and now I help, obviously, all of you guys conquer binge eating. But if you are in a job, you know, that forces you to look a certain way, I would really reconsider that. Because if you're struggling with binge eating, but you have to look a certain way, it's not gonna work. So going back to this training, if you want to build up trust, especially around food, this really can apply to any area of your life. When you are a woman of your word, when you do the things you say you're going to do, that's how you build up self-trust. But it's not about not being realistic. You have to be realistic. Like I said, all of those things that I listed off. The Liz says I'm 1 week. I guess you mean like binge free, which is so exciting. Congratulations. Very exciting, Liz. Congratulations. So what not to do is tell yourself, I better not binge tonight. I better not have any chocolate. I better not bake this week. Unrealistic. You're going to sabotage yourself. And it's not because there's something wrong with you or you're broken. Nobody can just snap their fingers and just not binge because you tell yourself you're not going to. It's not realistic. Okay. What's more effective is, as scary as it is, to go to the restaurant before looking up the menu. That's what I'm going to do. As scary as it is to eat the cookie in front of my coworker, that's what I'm going to do. When I feel the urge to binge, I'm going to use one of Lorna's state change tools, and I'm going to shake my body. I'm going to use breath work. I'm going to hop in a cold shower to help me not give in to my urges. You can do those things. You got to step into your inner badass, step into your power. You should feel a little scared. Like eating in front of your coworker, especially a cookie, might be scary. But you do it, and then you build up trust. It stops being so scary. It's scary going to the restaurant and be like, I haven't even looked at the menu. I don't even know what I'm going to order. Oh my God, I'm probably going to take 25 years. But then you do it, and you prove to yourself that you are okay. You have to be willing to do things differently. I talk about my root and rewire process that I help my clients with. I walk them through this process of rewiring your brain. And essentially what that means is you have to see things differently. You have to do things differently to reprogram your brain. So if you're always looking up the menu ahead of time, you have to stop looking up the menu ahead of time. If you're always trying to eat super healthy in front of your coworkers and then you go home and that's when you have your cookies, you have to flip the switch. You have to do something different. This is how you build up trust. You have to set realistic expectations for yourself. Those are really great tips. I'm so harsh. After binging, it becomes an endless cycle. And so how you speak to yourself after a binge determines whether you're going to have another binge or not. I know it is the hardest thing to not beat yourself up after a binge because you feel like shit. And it's like, oh, why did I do it again? It's like, you know, it makes you feel like crap. You know you're going to regret it, but you still end up doing it. And that's the frustrating part, right? Like that's the most frustrating part. But the thing is, you could literally turn your entire day around, your entire week around. If you binge and then you spend the rest of your night pushing your partner away, beating yourself up, shaming yourself, I'm such a failure, I'm such an idiot, why did I do that? You're going to feel bad. You're going to put pressure on yourself to do so good tomorrow. Okay, I got to eat super clean. I'm going to have a salad for lunch. I'm not going to even bother bringing my banana chocolate chip muffin to work with me tomorrow because I have to do good. So I'm going to bother having the muffin. And then literally that is going to cause you to have another binge because you weren't actually eating what you were craving. And I was just talking to a client on a coaching call yesterday. Yeah. And she was like, I had a bigger breakfast, and because I feel like I kind of messed up, then she ended up overeating. But I said, it wasn't about the big breakfast. It was about the fact that you feel like you messed up, right? And the shame and the guilt. And so if you are constantly shaming yourself, that is going to create another binge. Because you're going to try to do better tomorrow. You're going to dismiss your craving. Like my client, she was like, I tried the next day, or no, it was the same day, but she had a bigger breakfast. She was like, I know that I was craving, I can't remember what she said it was. Oh, these, I think she made date brownies. And she's like, you know, I really wanted them, but I didn't end up having them because I had such a big breakfast. But she then dismissed her cravings and then she ended up having an urge. So After a binge, it's easy to beat yourself up, but you have to change the way you're speaking to yourself, and you have to not change up how you're eating. You actually have to still honor your cravings the next day. That will prevent you from spiraling into another binge. 100%. So inside of this training, I really talked about building up self-trust, being a woman of your word, being integral with your word, doing the things you say you're going to do. Not, I better not binge. I better only have one cookie. That is unrealistic, and you're setting yourself up to fail. Instead, be more realistic. What is scary for you right now? What are you afraid of? Maybe it's like eating the pizza in front of your husband. Or maybe it's like going to the restaurant and actually ordering the pasta dish. Maybe that's like something that you normally don't do. Do that. Do it. Trust yourself. Build up trust. Do the scary thing. Because when you do those things, you're going to be forced to step into your inner badass, to lean into courage, to build up the strength, and then you do it, and you're so freaking proud of yourself, and you're like, it actually wasn't that bad. I had a client, and she went to the restaurant, and she was like, I did it. I got the sweet potato fries. Like, I did it. And she was so proud of herself. And she was like, I honestly thought I would lose control and I'd end up finishing them and like be mad at myself because I would end up overeating and leaving the restaurant way too full. She ended up taking the majority of her sweet potato fries home. And she was like, I thought it'd be so much scarier. I didn't even overeat. Like, I literally brought the majority of the sweet potato fries home. So a lot of the times you get in your head and you think a situation is going to be more challenging or scarier than it actually is until you do it and you're like, okay, it wasn't that bad. Or maybe you're shitting your pants the whole freaking time. You're shitting your pants the whole time and you're like, I am so scared. And that's okay, but you get through it and then you build up trust and then those things stop being scary. Then you're the person that goes to the restaurant and you're like, I don't even care where we go, what time we're going, or you know, it's like, I just order something. You're the first person to order. And you're like, hurry up, everybody. Let's go. Right? So that will happen. Yes, the scarcity mindset is very, very, very common. Very common. Especially if you struggled with restriction in the past, right? It's like, I don't know the next time I'm going to eat, so I better eat it all now because I don't know the next time I'm going to eat something. It's very common. Very, very, very common. Okay. So, I feel like there's no life without binging. What should be my first step to quit? Well, first of all, I used to feel that way as well too. And I was talking to this, with my clients yesterday on our coaching call, and I said, the reason why it's like, I feel like there's like no life without binge eating, or like binge eating is like, I don't even know if I want to give it up, is because it is pleasurable. It brings you joy. It brings you comfort. But that's probably because there might not be a lot of joy and pleasure in your life right now. So if you don't have a lot of joy and pleasure, it's like, why would I want to give up the one thing that gives me so much joy and pleasure? Right? It's like, why would I want to stop binge eating? It like, it makes me happy. It's like the one thing I look forward to at the end of the day. Why would I want to give it up? But this is where you have to recognize it's like, okay, the only reason I'm so excited to binge is because I don't have a lot of other joy and pleasure in my life. But once you're no longer binging, you're going to feel freaking fantastic in your own skin. You're not going to be thinking about food. You're going to have a better relationship with your partner. You're going to have better mental health. You're going to be happy. You're going to be more confident. You're going to have so much more real pleasure. You're not even going to have the desire to binge. So I went from literally thinking, I'm never going to give up binge eating. Like, I'm like, I don't think I want to give it up. To literally being like, I can't binge. Like, I literally cannot. It's like, why would I do that sabotaging thing? But at the time, when people would be like, it's so sabotaging, I'm like, yeah, but I love it. Like, I hate it and I love it. I hate it, but I love it. It feels so good, but I hate it. And then when I stopped binge eating, I felt like the real me again. I didn't feel like I was like putting on this front. I didn't feel like when I was with certain people, I needed to be like so healthy and perfect. And then I would go home and binge my face off. It was just like, I got to show up as the real me. And like, that's a confident booster. That makes you feel good about yourself. And then you're not going to need to freaking stuff your face because it's like, you're happy with who you are. It's not like you're like this successful person in your company or at your work, and then you come home and you stuff your face and you're like, I feel like I'm living like this freaking double life. So yeah, Aubrey says, I need to find other sources of dopamine. Yes. But it's even like in the simple things, it's like, I think so many people like rush to do things, right? It's like, I got to be productive. I got to hurry up. So you go and you take a shower and you're like doing it within 5 seconds. You're having your meal and it's like on the go. It's like, I got to check off the box. Okay, got to go do my workout today. Check. I got to work out today. Check. I got to go for a walk today. Check. Versus like enjoying the moment, slowing down, romanticizing your life. Make your meals satisfying and pleasurable. Go for the walk, but not to just check off the box. Like, put on a really good playlist or like a podcast and have a great time. Your entire day will change when you do that. I finally feel like someone understands my struggle. I see you. I've gone through this, for 10 years of my life, and I'm 6 years binge free now. And that's because I did everything that I told you guys, right? It's like I healed my love-hate relationship with food and binging. I added in way more pleasure and joy into my life. I had other sources of dopamine. Food wasn't the only main source of pleasure in my life. I built up trust. I stopped going to the restaurant and looking up the menu ahead of time. I stopped promising myself I was going to have the very last binge, and I used a tool to help me to not give in, and eventually my urges stopped popping up. I don't want to resist binge eating. I don't want it to even come to my mind. And you will get there. You will get there. The thing is, it's not about like willpowering your way to stop binge eating. It's not about that. Like, all of you guys are like so motivated and ready to conquer. It's not about try harder. Like, come on, just do it. It's like there's steps, right? It's like, you got to be willing to sit in the discomfort when the urge to binge comes on. You got to know that you're safe. You got to, again, everything that I shared inside of here, it's like, lean into the fear. If you're afraid to eat in front of other people, you got to do that. If you feel like, I can't trust myself to bake, you got to bake so that you can actually prove to yourself that I can do this. This is the process of rewiring your brain. You have to be willing to do things differently. Wow, this was amazing. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. We have Kathy's on, Amy, Robin, Valeria. Thank you guys for being here. And yeah, this was all about building up self-trust. So you got to be more realistic. It's not about just telling yourself to not binge, to just have one cookie, to keep the chocolate out of the house. It's not about that. It's about being more realistic and doing things that are actually going to scare you. Like I said, what are the things that are scary to you right now? Like, one of my clients, she's like, but I feel like it'd be so much better if I just like didn't bring the chocolate in the house. And I was like, well, you can keep doing that, but you're going to go to social events. You're going to go to other parties. There's going to be chocolate and sweets. So then how do you navigate it then? You have to actually prove to yourself that you can have it and make peace with those foods so that those foods stop being triggering. So you have to see food differently. If right now you're seeing chocolate as like the big scary monster, it's like, no, I'm actually safe to have chocolate. So somebody said, what's the first step of like even rewiring my brain? So a lot of the times people think, I can't eat what I'm craving because I'm going to spiral out of control. So with this client, it was like, you need to see chocolate differently. So right now you're seeing, I can't eat the chocolate that I'm craving because I'm going to binge, but instead you have to rewire your brain to say, actually, if I dismiss my craving and I try to push off the craving and tell myself I can't have the chocolate, you're going to end up binging later on. So what's more healthy, what's way more effective is actually have some chocolate, eat what you're craving, and then you'll have less urges to binge. Amy said, my trigger is my child's leftovers, wasting food. I hear that all the time with a lot of moms that I work with as well too. It's like, but they just have a little bit left. So like, I'm just going to eat that. But then it's like, are you actually hungry? Or you're like making your kids lunches and it's like, you're just like nibbling and it's like, wait, I'm not even hungry. I see that often. All right, you guys, thank you for being here. Have a beautiful rest of your day. This is all about building up self-trust around food. You're not broken. You don't need more willpower. You need to be more integral with your word and do the things you say you're going to do in a realistic way. All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of your evening and we'll see you guys soon. Okay, bye.